Let me tell you about a transaction you complete every single month without thinking about it. You open your banking app, you tap pay, and somewhere between $1,400 and $3,000 leaves your account. It happens on the 1st. It has happened on the 1st for 3 years, or 5 years, or in some cases an entire decade. And every single time that money leaves, you get exactly one thing in return: the right to stay where you already are for another 30 days. Not equity, not ownership, not an asset that appreciates while you sleep, just permission to remain. You have probably done the math in a vague, uncomfortable way. You know roughly what you have paid over the years. You know it is a large number. You push it out of your head because thinking about it too long feels like looking directly at something painful. But here is what most renters have never actually sat down and calculated. You have not just been paying for housing. You have been funding someone else's retirement. Every month, on the 1st, with the reliability of a direct deposit, you have been building your landlord's net worth while your own sits exactly where it was. My name is Professor Pip, and I spend way too much time thinking about the financial arrangements that feel normal until you do the math, and then feel like the most expensive mistake you never consciously made. If you have been renting for more than 2 years, and you have a vague sense that something is off, that you are working hard and paying on time, and somehow not getting ahead, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Because today we are not talking about whether you should buy a house. We are talking about something more fundamental than that. We are talking about what rent actually is, what it actually does, and why the arrangement you're in right now is one of the most effective wealth transfer mechanisms ever normalized by modern society. Here is the thing. We have been sold a story about renting that makes it feel like a neutral financial decision. You need a place to live. You pay for a place to live. Simple exchange, fair transaction. No different from paying for groceries or a phone plan. But that framing is not just wrong. It is the exact framing your landlord needs you to have in order for the arrangement to keep working in their favor. Because rent is not a neutral transaction. Rent is a 100% interest loan that you take out every single month and never pay down. Every dollar of rent you pay is a dollar that builds zero equity, generates zero ownership, and returns zero financial value to you the moment it leaves your account. You are not buying housing. You are renting access to housing, which is an entirely different thing. And the difference between those two things over 20 years is the difference between financial security and starting over at 50. Let us do the math because this is where the story gets real. The median rent in the United States in 2024 is approximately $1,700 per month, according to data from Zillow and the Census Bureau. Let us use that number. At $1,700 a month, you are spending $20,400 per year on rent. Over 5 years, that is $102,000. Over 10 years, $204,000. And that is before we account for rent increases, which average between 3 and 5% annually in most major markets. Let us build in a 3% annual increase and redo the math. Year 1, $20,400. Year 5, $23,000. Year 10, $27,400. Year 20, $36,800. Add it all up over 20 years with compounding rent increases, and the average renter in America pays somewhere between $480,000 and $560,000 in rent over 2 decades. Call it $500,000. $500,000 paid out, on time, every month. And at the end of 20 years, the renter owns exactly as much of their building as they did on day 1. 0. The lease just needs to be renewed again. Now here is where I want to flip the camera around, because most conversations about renting focus entirely on the renter's experience. The stress, the lack of stability, The rent increases. But I want you to see this transaction from the other side. I want you to meet David. David is a landlord. He is not a villain. He is not a corporate entity. He is a regular person who bought a 2-bedroom apartment 12 years ago for $280,000. He put down $60,000, which is about 20%, and he took out a mortgage for $220,000 at a 4% interest rate. His monthly mortgage payment is around $1,050 per month. He rents the apartment to a tenant, let us call her Maya, for $1,700 per month. Maya pays on time, every month, for years. She is a good tenant. Now watch what happens to both of their financial situations over time. Maya pays $1,700 a month. Every dollar disappears. Her net worth from this transaction, zero. Her equity in the property, zero. Her ownership stake after 10 years of payments, zero. She has spent $204,000 and acquired nothing. David collects $1,700 a month. His mortgage costs $1,050. After property taxes and basic maintenance, let us say he nets around $400 to $500 per month in cash flow. But here is the part most people never think about. Maya's rent payment is not just giving David cash flow, it is paying down David's mortgage. Every month that Maya pays rent, David's loan balance drops. Every month, David owns a slightly larger percentage of an asset that is appreciating in value. Over 12 years, that $280,000 property in most major American markets is now worth somewhere between $420,000 and $500,000. David's mortgage balance has been paid down to roughly $160,000. So let us calculate David's net position. Property worth $460,000 minus remaining mortgage of $160,000 equals equity of $300,000. David turned a $60,000 down payment into $300,000 in equity, a 5 times return. And a significant portion of that equity was funded by Maya's rent payments, which covered David's mortgage for over a decade. Maya paid for David's asset. David owns the asset. Maya owns nothing. This is not a criticism of David. David made a smart financial decision. This is an explanation of the mechanism. And the mechanism is this. In a landlord-tenant relationship, the tenant's payments fund the landlord's wealth accumulation while the tenant accumulates nothing. The transaction is not a neutral exchange of money for housing. It is a wealth transfer, structured legally, normalized culturally, and repeated every month by tens of millions of people who have been told that this is just how housing works. Now I know what is coming. You are thinking, Bobby, I would love to own, but I cannot afford to buy. Prices are insane. I do not have a down payment. And look, I hear that. The affordability crisis is real. I am not standing here telling you that buying is easy or that everyone should be doing it right now. What I am telling you is that the I cannot afford to buy assumption deserves a much harder look than most renters give it. Because there is a difference between genuinely cannot afford to buy and have never actually run the numbers because buying feels impossible, so why bother? Here is what the numbers often look like when people actually run them. The average monthly rent in America is $1,700. The average monthly mortgage payment on a median-priced home purchased with 10% down at current rates is approximately $2,100 to $2,300. That is a gap of $400 to $600 per month. Not nothing. But in many markets and for many income levels, that gap is bridgeable. Especially when you factor in the mortgage interest deduction, the equity you are building, and the fixed nature of a mortgage payment versus the 3 to 5% annual increase baked into virtually every lease renewal. The renter paying $1,700 today will be paying $1,970 in 5 years if increases hold at their historical average. The homeowner who locked in at $2,100 in year 1 is still paying $2,100 in year 5, and year 10, and year 20. The mortgage does not grow. The rent does. And over time, the fixed mortgage payment becomes one of the most powerful financial stabilizers a household can have. But here is the trap inside the trap. And this is the part that I think deserves its own moment. The down payment problem. Most renters know that they need a down payment to buy. The conventional wisdom is 20%, though FHA loans allow as low as 3.5%, and conventional loans go down to 5%. On a $300,000 home, 3.5% is $10,500. On a $400,000 home, it is $14,000. These are real numbers that real people can save toward. But here is the circular problem that keeps renters renting. Rent is so expensive that saving a down payment while paying rent is genuinely difficult. The cost that is preventing you from buying is the exact same cost that is preventing you from saving your way out of paying that cost. You need money to buy a house to stop paying rent, but rent is consuming so much of your income that you cannot save the money to buy the house. This is what I call the renter's treadmill. You are moving. You are making payments. You are covering the cost of housing every single month, but you are not going anywhere. The treadmill keeps you exactly in place while the person who owns the treadmill watches their asset appreciate. A 2023 study by the National Association of Realtors found that the median net worth of a homeowner in America is $396,200. The median net worth of a renter is $10,400. That is not a typo. Homeowners have 38 times the net worth of renters. 38 times. Same country, same economy, same job market. The single biggest financial variable separating those two groups is whether their monthly housing payment is building their equity or someone else's. Now, I want to address the flexibility argument because it is the one I hear most often, and it is the one that I think does the most damage. People say renting gives you flexibility. You can move for a job. You are not tied down. You do not have the hassle of maintenance and repairs. And look, there is some truth to all of that. Flexibility has real value. But let us put a number on that flexibility. Because most renters are not using their flexibility. They are not moving every year for new opportunities. According to census data, the average renter stays in their rental for approximately 2.5 years before moving, and most of the time they move to another rental. The flexibility is theoretical. The wealth transfer is actual. Every month, every year, whether you exercise the flexibility or not, your rent payment is building your landlord's net worth and not yours. And here is the part that should make you genuinely uncomfortable. Your landlord's financial situation and your financial situation are directly connected, but they are moving in opposite directions. Every month you pay rent on time. Your landlord's equity grows, their loan balance drops, and their net worth increases. And your net worth from this specific transaction remains exactly zero. The longer the arrangement continues, the wider the gap gets. After 20 years of renting versus 20 years of owning, the wealth gap between those two households can easily exceed $400,000. Not because the homeowner was smarter or earned more, simply because one monthly payment was building an asset and one was not. So what do you actually do with this information? Because I am not here to make you feel hopeless about a situation that is in many cases genuinely difficult. I am here to change how you see the situation so you can make better decisions inside it. The first shift is this. Stop thinking of your rent as a housing expense and start thinking of it as a wealth subscription you are paying someone else. Every month, when you tap pay, you are subscribing to your landlord's retirement fund. You are auto-renewing a service that benefits them financially and leaves you exactly where you started. Once you see it that way, the urgency to change the arrangement becomes a lot clearer. The second shift is to actually run your numbers, not the vague, uncomfortable version where you know roughly what you have paid. The actual version. Pull up your lease, multiply your current monthly rent by 12. Now multiply that by how many years you have been renting. Look at that number. That is what you have paid. Now look at your net worth. Look at what you own. The gap between what you have paid and what you have built is the cost of the renter's treadmill. The third shift is to treat the down payment as the single most important savings goal in your financial life if homeownership is accessible to you. Not the vacation fund, not the new car fund, the down payment fund, because the down payment is the exit ramp from the treadmill. It is the one-time cost that converts your monthly housing payment from a wealth transfer to someone else into an equity investment for yourself. Every dollar you put toward a down payment is a dollar that gets you closer to the moment when your monthly payment starts working for you instead of for your landlord. And if homeownership is genuinely not accessible to you right now, whether because of the market you are in, or your current income, or your credit situation, then the goal is to get informed and get moving on the variables you can change. Credit takes time to build, but it builds. Income takes time to grow, but it grows. Markets cycle. The worst version of this situation is not being a renter. The worst version is being a renter who never runs the numbers and never changes anything because the whole arrangement feels too normal to question. I want to leave you with one thought. The reason the rent trap is so effective is not because landlords are clever or because renters are foolish. It is because the arrangement has been so thoroughly normalized that most people never stop to examine what they are actually participating in. Rent is just what you pay. It is just how housing works. It is just the cost of living in a city. But now you know what it actually is. It is a monthly payment that builds your landlord's equity while building zero for yours. It is a wealth subscription that auto-renews every month while the subscriber gets nothing and the provider gets richer. It is the most expensive normal thing that most people in America do without ever questioning whether normal is the same as good. You are not renting an apartment. You are renting your financial future. And the lease on that arrangement can be renegotiated, but only if you decide that the current terms are not good enough. If this video changed how you see your rent payment, share it with someone who needs to do the math. Hit that like button and subscribe. I will see you in the next one.